Post Office Horizon scandal is, honestly, one of the most widespread miscarriages of justice in British history. It all began back in the late 1990s when the Post Office introduced this new computer system called Horizon. The system, which was developed by the Japanese company Fujitsu, was supposed to modernize accounting in thousands of post office branches all across the country. But right from the start, the software was flawed. It had, numerous bugs and errors that created these apparent financial shortfalls in branch accounts. Thing is, these weren't real losses, just phantom discrepancies generated by the faulty software. Still, the post office insisted the system was robust and reliable, and they just refused to even consider that it could be at fault. Paula Vennells served as the Chief Executive Officer of the Post Office from 2012 to 2019, which was a really critical period when the scandal actually intensified. Under her leadership, the Post Office kept up this aggressive policy of going after sub-postmasters for the shortfalls shown by Horizon. Hundreds of innocent people were accused of theft, fraud, and false accounting. Many were forced into bankruptcy, lost their homes, and honestly saw their reputations destroyed. Over 700 were prosecuted by the Post Office itself, which acted as both victim and prosecutor. Bringing a criminal prosecution against anyone, especially a senior executive like Paula Vennells, is, a pretty complex process. It's not enough to just show that mistakes were made. Even if those mistakes had catastrophic consequences, the law actually demands a much higher standard of proof. For a criminal charge to be successful, prosecutors have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a specific crime was committed. That means more than just showing poor judgment or managerial failure. You need clear evidence of criminal intent, what's known in legal terms as mens rea or the guilty mind. This is a fundamental principle of the justice system. There are a few potential offences to consider: fraud, perjury, perverting the course of justice. For a charge of fraud, for example, prosecutors would need to show that Vennells knowingly made false representations with the intention of causing loss to others or making a gain for herself or the post office. For perverting the course of justice, they'd have to prove she deliberately acted to obstruct or interfere with the legal process, like knowingly concealing evidence that would have proven the sub-postmaster's innocence. These are not easy things to prove. The ongoing Post Office Horizon IT inquiry, led by Sir Win Williams, has been absolutely instrumental in uncovering the truth. Its whole purpose is to establish a clear account of what went wrong. Paula Vennells has actually appeared before the inquiry and given evidence over several days. During her testimony, she offered repeated apologies for the suffering caused to sub-postmasters. She admitted that she'd made mistakes and had been too trusting of the information given to her by senior colleagues and technical experts. It's a picture of a leader who failed to ask the right questions and failed to challenge reassurances. Throughout her evidence, Vennells maintained she wasn't aware of the true scale or nature of problems with the Horizon system. However, the inquiry has also heard evidence that calls her account into question. Emails and documents have been presented suggesting Vennells was aware of concerns about the reliability of Horizon's data and the integrity of prosecutions long before she claims. For example, evidence shows she was informed about a critical report by forensic accountant's Second Sight, which raised serious questions, yet the Post Office's public narrative stayed the same. A central element of Paula Vennells' defense is that she delegated responsibility to her team and trusted their expertise. In any large organization, a CEO cannot be expected to know every single detail of every operation. They must rely on their senior managers, legal counsel, technical experts. Delegation is a normal and necessary part of corporate governance. No chief executive could function without it. The act of delegating tasks and trusting the advice of qualified professionals is not, in itself, a criminal offence. The legal question is whether that trust was reasonable. The inquiry is exploring whether Vennells' reliance on her colleagues went beyond reasonable trust and tipped into willful blindness. Did she fail to act when sufficient red flags were raised? Should she have been more skeptical of the constant reassurances she received? The evidence suggests that there were numerous moments when a more inquisitive leader might have dug deeper. For example, when independent reports questioned Horizon, when senior lawyers warned of problems with disclosure in criminal cases, a CEO might be expected to intervene more forcefully. Her failure to do so is a key focus of the inquiry. However, from a legal standpoint, proving that this failure amounts to a crime is challenging. A defense could argue that she was a victim of a corporate cover-up, deliberately shielded from the damaging truth by subordinates who were trying to protect themselves or the organization. If her team consistently presented a united front, assuring her that all issues were under control and that the system was sound, it could be argued that her trust, while misplaced, was not criminally reckless. The prosecution would need to demonstrate she had reason to believe her team was lying and chose to ignore it. This complex interplay between delegation and personal responsibility is at the heart of the matter. The public's anger over the Horizon scandal is immense and entirely justified. Protesters outside post offices, social media outrage and headlines. People watched the harrowing stories on television, listened to their testimony at the inquiry, and felt a deep sense of injustice. To many, Paula Vennells is the symbol of a powerful, unaccountable corporation. The public demand for accountability is loud and clear, and someone must pay. There are widespread calls for her to be prosecuted and for the wealth she accumulated during her time at the post office to be clawed back. This outcry is a natural response to such a devastating miscarriage of justice. However, the legal system operates under a different set of rules. Public sentiment is driven by emotion and a moral sense of right and wrong. The law is driven by evidence and established standards of proof. A prosecutor cannot bring charges based on public anger. They must have cold, hard evidence that can stand up to the intense scrutiny of a criminal trial. The current public inquiry, chaired by Sir Win Williams, is a fact-finding mission. It is a fact-finding mission, not a trial. It does not have the power to determine criminal guilt or to sentence anyone. However, the evidence it uncovers is crucial. It is being shared with the Metropolitan Police and other investigative bodies. They will then use it to determine if any criminal charges can be brought against any individuals, including Paula Vennells. The wheels of justice turn slowly, and in this case they are grinding through one of the most complex corporate scandals Britain has ever seen.